Hi everyone, I'm Danny and I'm going to talk to you today about how to test your Facebook ads. So I've been running ads for charities and nonprofits for about 10 years, both in-house and agency. I'm currently a mobilization expert for More Onion. So More Onion is a digital mobilization agency. We work exclusively with progressive nonprofits to deliver high impact campaigns and fundraising. We do this through helping with design, consultancy, and technology, including our mobilization platform, Impact Stack. So, wherever you are in your Facebook journey, our key message is that for Facebook success, you need to do testing, lots and lots of testing. So, testing will help you discover what advert content resonates best with your potential supporters and drives them to act for the lowest cost. So we found that testing content, the elements that make up each advert, so text and image, is the most important factor in determining advert success. And this is as long as your action page. So that's the page where people click on your ad to get taken to take the action that you want them to do. So as long as that page is optimized, so is really tailored to making sure people do your goal without friction and it just feels like a seamless process. So as long as that page is optimized, then content is the most important factor you need to test. So to make sure your pages are optimized, we'll include a free copy of a report on this in your delegate bag. Here's a quick summary of what we're going to be looking at today. So as I've said, testing is really important. And what you need to do as part of this is test lots of variations on text and images where the variations are all very different from the other content of that type, especially during your initial tests. But this can be difficult to think of all these different things to test. So I'm going to introduce two approaches to angles and framing that help you brainstorm lots of different content variations that differ from one another. There's lots of approaches you can use, but those are just to get you started. Also going to look at the core parts of your Facebook advert content. So these are your image, your headline, and your body copy. So we're going to present some broad trends from our testing about what has worked across different charities and different causes. So this is just hopefully to spark some ideas to guide your testing and help you just more quickly gain insights about what works for your charity and get quicker results. So using frames or angles is how you can view the same story from different perspectives. But what do you put at the heart of your story when you're telling it to your audience? So one of two ways that I'm going to talk about that you can use to theme your content and figure out lots of different variations on how to tell your story. The first one is 5 angles that we find helpful to tell the story in different ways. So firstly, look at what is the problem. Explain your issue. Who is responsible? Who is causing it? Who can change it? This also could be what could change it. So that could be research funding. So present a bold value statement. What do you believe? What are your supporters also likely to believe? What is the statement that's just going to make them think, yep, I agree with that, I'm in? You can take a solutions focus. You can also use case studies and present individual stories. So putting people with lived experience at the front of your story. And so one note on this is if you are going to use images or names that are identifiable, please check with the people that you are looking to use just to check that they're happy. So another approach you can use to theme your content and brainstorm lots of different variations is used by Rachel Collinson, the donor whisperer who we've been working with. He uses values framing to find your best new donors by tapping into their values and motivations for giving. So donors often means fundraising, but it could also be people who donate their time, donate their signature, or donate other things. So she describes that people fall into 3 categories of behaviour based on their values and their motivations for giving. So these are hobbits, dwarves, and elves. Each charity will have a different group of best donors that fall into these categories. So your best donors will fall into one of these categories. And you want to start by creating content that frames your charity ask around these 3 different frames. And this will help you figure out which framing resonates best with your best donors. So Rachel uses lightning peeler tests for 4 days on Facebook using advertising, and this helps you to measure very quickly which framing your audience responds to, and that can help inform future testing. So you can read more about this way of framing in Rachel's new book, The Giving Code, and our software Impact Stack is sponsoring that. So once you've done some brainstorming and all the different ways you could talk about the issue that you're trying to talk about to get people to donate or sign up or whatever action you're trying to get them to take, you then need to look at how you can use that to shape content variations on the three core aspects of Facebook ad content, which are images, headline, and body copy. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to test other aspects of your Facebook ads, for example, your call to action buttons, but it just means that these are a really good place to start. So here's some insights that we found makes a really great image for Facebook ads. Facebook news feeds are really busy, so you have to be instantly compelling, make people want to find out more so they don't just scroll past your content. So centralizing images in your testing is a really great place to start with testing. So if you don't know where to start or you have limited budget, start by testing images. So start by testing at least 5 images that are very different from one another. So our first tip for images is don't just test obvious charity imagery. So things that might work for generating your goal on other platforms may not work for Facebook ads. So as we said, it's a very different audience, both in terms of busyness, but also people may not know much about your charity. Obvious imagery, so the imagery that we tend to use in charity comms, can work well, but you need to find the right angle, messaging, and timing for these images to resonate with people. The slide shows an image of a person packing medical aid into a box. And this was used and tested as part of a Facebook advertising campaign to find new donors for a medical charity. And imagery like this was really successful for an emergency appeal. And it was used alongside messaging, highlighting the urgent need for medical supplies to be sent to the Ukraine and how people can donate to be a part of that. So imagery like this and that kind of hook, that ended up driving these ads to be the best performing ad campaign that we run for that charity last year. However, the same imagery, same types of imagery don't always work across different campaigns. So for the same charity, that kind of imagery, typical imagery, didn't work in the context of the seasonal campaigns that we run for the charity across the year. So these are time-bound campaigns which tap into different events across the year, like New Year and Valentine's. So we tested the typical imagery, and what we found is that just didn't work when there wasn't an emergency kind of hook and context and real-world situation to tap into to give that image context. What we did find is that images of what people are likely to be buying at that time of year worked. And there was messaging that accompanied this on how you could donate the value of the item instead of buying it. What we need to do with these images is we discovered is we need to make the images feel relevant through the topic of the images by tailoring them to the season, and also by making sure that the hook and the timing was very relevant. So as well as having messaging that referenced the time of year, the images were also made to feel relevant to people at that time. So we used teddies, for example, that are wearing warm clothes in the winter and hearts for Valentine's Day. So another example of how ads that are used by a charity or a cause typically are not always the best performers for Facebook ads. So it was a lead generation campaign to grow their email supporter list for a development charity working to end hunger. So it included typical charity imagery, which is very emotive, well photographed, and shows the people experience the problem and or who the charity is helping. So on the left, there's high quality photography, a child at the top, and underneath a younger child with a relative. However, the clear winner across ad sets from initial testing was this image on the right, showing a child's hands eating from a bowl. And this performed best and generated the lowest cost per lead on adverts that used it. So another surprising thing that we found from testing images is that across different causes, signs and logos can work really well on images. So these can help as a shortcut to grab the audience's attention and help explain what it is that your charity is doing or what you're trying to highlight. So these can show recognizable kind of corporate or government figures or bodies, or they are signs that help illustrate the problem really clearly. So on this slide on the left is an example of a government sign. So this is a Department and Worker pension sign in the UK. And the right is a hazard symbol saying, warning, do not enter the sea. The headlines, these are another important part of advert creative. So testing will help you find the right headline to use with your best performing image or images. So the headline is a short line of text that sits under your image. It's often what people read after noticing your image, but not always. So it helps tell your story, it gives more context to the image, and it can add power or emotion. So it must hold attention, fuel more interest, or give some direction. So it can be a nudge to take the action that you want them to take. So headlines, what works? So there's some broad trends that have emerged from our testing. Yeah, test these for yourself just to see what works best with different images and what works best for your audiences. So firstly, use clear value statements. So outline what your charity stands for and believes in a really snappy way. It's that, yep, I agree with that, I'm in, something that just instantly resonates. So you can direct action, make it clear what you want people to do. So use prompt words like take action, donate, or sign. Be bold and direct about your charity's vision. So what is the vision that you are trying to create? What's the world you're trying to create? So next, we're going to look at add body copy. So this is the piece of text, which varies in length depending on how many characters you use, and it sits at the top of your advert under your charity name and logo, but above the image. So this is a chance to further convince supporters why they should take action with you. So it can help describe the problem in more detail, the need for action, and just nudge people again to take action with you. So with this body copy, you want to put the most important information at the start. It's really important to start with a great hook. It's what people will read or hear first. It pulls people in. And there's some examples in the next slide about how to test some great hooks that will just pull people in right away. So also remember that add body copy acts as a teaser, doesn't need to be the whole story. You can add more detail on your action page, or your email supporter journey can tell your story over time. So body copy, what have we found works? So it's quite similar to headlines, but you get more characters to play with. So a few ways you can front load your ad copy with really attention grabbing hooks include starting with a question, starting with a clear value statement, starting with a powerful quote. This is an example to use people's lived experience and center those voices. It's also where you could put a powerful stat if it's kind of easy to understand and emotive. So other tips, urgency works really well, but make sure it's actual urgency or an actual emergency. Use instructional language to nudge the action you want people to take. That's after your initial hook. So overall, we've found that short and snappy copy is better for ad body text, but this won't always be the case. So that's about as much as I can tell you about Facebook ads in 15 minutes, and I really hope that sparks some ideas for further testing. So just a refresher, and here's 3 points to remember. So brainstorming around themes or frames can just help you explore how to tell your story in different angles and come up with lots of variations for your ad content. And variations are key for successful Facebook testing and finding out what works. So you could start by testing at least 5 images that are very different from one another, not just testing images that have worked elsewhere. And then you can figure out which headlines and ad body copy perform best with an image or images that are performing well. Be attention grabbing with all aspects of your content. Be emotional, be direct, be instructional. So that's the end of my talk. Thanks for listening. Good luck with your Facebook testing. And my details are on the slide if you want to get in touch.